Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Today I wanted to talk to you about the 3 ways that a spouse can obtain this benefit, and it pays out up to $3,495.83 or more per month, depending on the different add-ons that can be added in. There's a whole slew of different add-ons to it, so it can range anywhere between $1,612.75 as the base rate, all the way up, like I said, into the mid threes or higher as far as a monthly compensation is concerned. So there's 3 ways into this program, and I wanted to go over it with you today. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. The 2 asks are really, look, hit the thumbs up, let the video run. That is what puts this into the hands of those that need it. And I will tell you, it's really one of those situations where veterans aren't even aware of all the different benefits that we have, let alone spouses understanding what's available. So it's important for us to know and to share, and for spouses out there or surviving spouses that may not be aware, this is an important video for you. So let's jump into it. The 3 ways to obtain this benefit, again, that pays up to about $3,500 per month or more. This is for none other than Dependency Indemnity Compensation. DIC, often referred to, is a compensation benefit that it's affected by COLA. And I just recently did a COLA video, actually a couple of them. One where the legislation is passed to adopt the Social Security COLA for 2025, and one with the new projection of a 3% increase so far projected for COLA. Now, again, DIC automatically will be adjusted. So let's dive into it here. I apologize for the white noise, getting a little April showers apparently. So, about VA DIC for spouses, dependents, and parents. If you're the surviving spouse, child, or parent of a service member who died in the line of duty, or you are the survivor of a veteran who died from a service-related injury or illness, you may be able to get tax-free monetary benefit called VA DIC, or Dependency Indemnity Compensation. It says here, find out if you can get VA benefits or compensation, and specifically regarding this one. The one thing I will say in this little snapshot from the VA is it is misleading, because if I'm going to focus on spouse. So, because that's the primary person who's going to receive this benefit. So, if you're the surviving spouse of a veteran who passed away, and you read that, and they did not die from a service-related injury or illness in your mind, right? And that could be true. Then you may just self-segregate out and go, I don't even qualify for it, so why am I going to continue to read? There's a problem there, because they're not mentioning the 3rd way, sadly. So I'm going to dive into that here, and that's why this is really important. And I wish that they would actually revise it a little bit. I understand they're trying to just give a snapshot, but it's a deterrent more than not. So moving on. Am I eligible for VA DIC as a surviving spouse or dependent? I'm checking the spouse one here so we can read through that, since that's what I'm focused on this video. You are, or you may be eligible for VA benefits or compensation if you meet these requirements. Now, DIC is considered compensation, so Dependency Indemnity Compensation. One of these must be true. Okay, you have 2 bullet points. One must be true. You lived with a veteran or service member, so it's for both. So you can receive this if the person passed away while on active duty, right? So that's service member piece, and then you got the veteran side. So you lived with the veteran or service member without a break until their death. Or if you're separated, you weren't at fault for the separation. I'm not sure what kind of requirements they would be looking at for that. Next piece here, it says, and one of these must be true. There's 3 bullet points. You married the veteran or service member within 15 years of their discharge from the period of military service during which the qualifying illness or injury started or got worse. So, that one's a little bit confusing, right? So you would have had to have gotten married to the veteran within 15 years of their discharge from the military for the period of time that they are associated for the cause of death to be service connected. So I served in Vietnam during this period of time. I only did one stretch of service, and I have hypertension, and it's in there, and I got married to this veteran within 15 years of their discharge, and let's say that was whatever, in 1978. So you got married in 1978, and so that was within the 15 years for that condition of hypertension, and that led to a heart attack, right? So that's kind of what they're saying. So the next bullet here is a little more clear. You were married to the veteran or service member for at least 1 year. Okay, so you were married for at least 1 year. If you notice, the first bullet point didn't say for how long you were married. It just says you had to have gotten married within 15 years. So you could have only been married for 3 months, and then the veteran passed away. The third one is you have a child with the veteran or service member. So any one of those three will qualify you for that. Now, there is a remarriage provision that we'll talk about here because this is a surviving spouse benefit. Well, the surviving spouse is going to be moving on in life, and what if they remarry? So if you remarried, you can receive or continue to receive compensation if one of these describes you. There's two different date ranges regarding age on how old you can be when you remarry. So if you remarried on or after December 16th, 2003, and you were 57 years of age or older at the time you remarried, you can continue to receive dependency indemnity compensation. Or if you remarried on or after January 5th, 2021, and you are over the age of 55, they shaved off a couple years for you, and as long as you were over the age of 55 years of age or older, then you would still be able to qualify and continue to receive dependency indemnity compensation. So let's move into the evidence aspect, and this is the ways that you really qualify, the three ways that the veteran, right, if you meet those things, right, that we talked about, there's still some qualifiers that need to happen, and they alluded to them in that opening paragraph, and they missed one, and that's why I think it's important that we share this information. So let's move on. Provide evidence showing, so this is the evidence piece. You'll need to provide evidence with your claim showing that that one of these descriptions is true of the veteran or service member. Evidence may include documents like military service records, doctor reports, and medical test results. I'm going to throw in there that the veteran did not need to be service connected for anything while they were alive. So in other words, the service member could pass away. You as the surviving spouse could pick up the pieces, file the claim, show that there was a service connection, and then be able to obtain dependency indemnity compensation. So it's a little more work, which is why I always suggest to veterans, get rated for your conditions, especially if it's something that could lead to an easier road to dependency indemnity compensation. It's not that hard, but it does make it a little bit easier. So let's move on here. Provide evidence showing that at least one of these is true. Okay, one of these. The service member died while on active duty. Active duty for training, which would be like a reservist, or inactive duty training. So again, basically reservist dying during their training, or an active duty person who passes away. So that's one way, right? Because we're talking about three ways to qualify through the service members' situations, right? So that's one. So the service member passes away. So that's one way to qualify. The next way is, and then after that, I'm going to dive into the dollar figures, how they all work out. So the next one is the veteran died from a service-connected illness or injury. Now, this one's a little bit confusing too. What happens here is the VA will consider two portions of the death certificate: the cause of death and the contributing cause of death in relation to meeting this requirement. And oh, by the way, these first two bullet points are the first two that were, or the only two that were listed in that kind of overarching explanation of what dependency indemnity compensation is. So I'm going to give you the quick example here. The veteran died from a service-connected illness or injury. So what can that look like? And let's take a worst-case scenario. Veteran never got rated for anything with the VA, told the VA to kick rocks and they don't need them. They lived their life, then they passed away. Okay? Let's pretend, for argument's sake, that the veteran is a Vietnam veteran. Okay? Surviving spouse of that veteran could, if they meet all the other criteria, right, the marriage time frames, all that stuff, right, could put in a claim for dependency indemnity compensation if, for example, the veteran had hypertension, high blood pressure, and the spouse knows this, right? So the veteran had high blood pressure and they died from a heart attack. Well, there's two things. If they had ischemic heart disease as well, we could just say. So ischemic heart disease and hypertension are both of those are labeled as presumptive conditions for Vietnam veterans. So Vietnam veteran passed away, surviving spouse knows what conditions they had. They had hypertension, maybe they had ischemic heart disease. So now they died of a heart attack. The death certificate says died of a heart attack. Contributing cause, oh, we need to get an amendment for the death certificate. So they go to vital records for their county and say, hey, look, I need to get a death certificate amended or changed or what have you. Can we add these two conditions as contributing causes to the death? And really it only needs one. So you could just pick one or you could just add them both, whatever. So adding a contributing cause on the death certificate that is a service-connected condition would then meet that requirement. Then able to claim showing that the veteran who passed away had these presumptive conditions diagnosed and that they served in Vietnam, and that would be the qualifier to get the service connection piece. Now they're service connected in the eyes of the VA. The death certificate shows the contributing cause of death as those service connected conditions, and the VA would then grant dependency indemnity compensation in that fashion. Now, an easier way would be veteran was rated for cancer, currently has cancer, is rated for cancer at 100%, passes away from that same cancer. The wife or husband, the surviving spouse, would then file a claim with that death certificate showing that they died of cancer and submit that to the VA for dependency indemnity compensation. They do not need to deal with all the proving of the condition and that type of stuff. So it's a little bit of an easier road. But nonetheless, either way, you can qualify under that. The third bullet is the bullet that was missed. The third option or avenue into dependency indemnity compensation. The veteran did not die from a service-connected illness or injury. And in that opening paragraph, did it mention? So, veteran did die from a service-connected illness or injury, but was eligible to receive VA compensation for a service-connected disability rated as totally disabling for a certain period of time. Now, the most common certain period of time is 10 years, right? So I'll just use this one for the example and then I'll read them. So this is the third avenue in which someone could qualify for dependency indemnity compensation. Being rated 100% for 10 years, and then the next day you get hit by a bus, right? That's not a service-connected condition. It might be able to get tracked to one, but we'll just pretend that there's no connecting it to a service-connected condition. So the fact that you were 100% for 10 years allows the surviving spouse to be able to obtain dependency indemnity compensation and receive that monetary benefit. Now, what are the other certain periods of time? Let's just read them here. There's 3 bullets. It says, if the veteran's eligibility was due to a rating of totally disabling, they must have had this rating for There's 3 bullet points: for at least 10 years before their death. So that's the one that I described, which is primarily the one that's utilized. The next one is since their release from active duty and for at least 5 years immediately before their death. So since they're released from active duty, so they get rated, bam, they're out, they're 100% rated, and 5 years later, and then they pass away. Or the third bullet here, for at least 1 year before their death, they're rated 100%. 1 year before their death, if they were a former prisoner of war who died after September 30th, 1999. Now, here's an interesting piece. Totally disabling means the veteran's injuries made it impossible for them to work, which is alluding to TDIU. So TDIU is total. So you're getting that word total disability, individual unemployability. So totally disabling includes the individually unemployable folks. So TDIU folks would also qualify under this provision for the 100% aspect for obtaining this benefit. So how can you file for it? Well, I always suggest utilize an accredited rep to help you through it. It's the best way. You can utilize, if you're a surviving spouse or the child of a veteran, you can fill out the application for DIC on the form 21P, as in Papa 534EZ. All right, so that would be Echo Zulu, EZ. All right, and you can always contact the VA and ask them questions as well. Let's dive into the dollar figures here real quick to give you a quick example. Now, there's different provisions like I had stated, and I will give you those descriptions and then give you an example. So the base rate before you do any add-ons is $1,612.75. This is effective December 1st, 2023. Again, this is affected by COLA in October of 2024. They will give us our percentage increase, and then the new effective date would be December 1st, 2024. All right, so the different provisions. There's the 8-year provision, which adds an additional $342.46 to that base rate of $1,612. And what is the 8-year provision? If the veteran had a VA disability rating of totally disabling, so 100%, for at least 8 years up till their death, and you were married for those same 8 years. So you were married to the veteran for 8 years, and they were 100% for those same 8 years. So they didn't quite get to the 10-year mark, but they died of a service-connected condition. Then you would get that 8-year provision, which is $342. Sometimes people confuse the 8-year with that 10-year rule. Different thing. So the 8-year is with regard to money, and the 10-year is with regard to qualification. So the next one would be aid and attendance. If you as the surviving spouse require aid and attendance, additional assistance with your daily living, you're looking at $399.54 additional per month. This is basically, the description is you as the surviving spouse have a disability and need help with regular daily activities like eating, bathing, or dressing. Next one is housebound allowance. That's an additional $187.17 if you can't leave your house due to a disability. The next one is with regard to children. So if you have children under the age of 18, you would get an additional $399.54 per child. $399.54 per child. Also, if you have children, there's something called a 2-year provision, which allows you, it's a transitional benefit that allows you to receive an additional $342 for the first 2 years after the veteran's death, which just is an additional bump to help through that transition of life, right? If you have smaller children. Well, I mean, a 17-year-old's not small, but you get it. 18 years or younger, if you have dependents yourself that you're still taking care of. So here is an example of what it would look like for a surviving spouse of a veteran with a monthly rate that would start off at $1,612.75. Then for each additional benefit you qualify for, which were those ones that I listed above, you would add the amounts from that table, those different provisions. In this example, we're going to show you the total monthly payment for someone with 2 children under the age of 18 who qualifies for the 8-year provision and aid in attendance. So the total monthly payment for the first 2 years, because remember, when you have children involved, you get that extra little bump for the first 2 years. So for the first 2 years, it would look like this: $3,495.83 per month for the first 2 years. That's the basic monthly rate. $399.54 for the first child, $399.54 for the second child, an additional $342.46 for the 8-year provision, an additional $399.54 for aid in attendance, and an additional 2-year bump of $342 per month for the first 2 years. After the first 2 years are completed, then it will be reduced by that $342, which was that 2-year additional transitional benefit. So that would be reduced, taking the total to $3,153.83 per month until the children become 18 or older, and then they'll drop off, and then that would be reduced from there. So thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you. I hope this shines some light on this program. Many surviving spouses are not aware of it. And sadly, here's the reality is that 70% of veterans are not utilizing VA compensation, right? So all of those spouses have no clue, most likely, about any of this. And then I would venture to say that there's a large number of spouses that are not aware, even in the realm of veterans who are utilizing compensation. So hopefully this helps get the word out. I truly appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.